All right, what's happening, everybody? It's your boy Ronimus Prime and my cohort and my co-host Alan Lynch. We have ALIM Leggett on today. How y'all doing today, fellas?
Pretty good, man.
Doing
All
good.
right. All righty. So, starting with today's opening monologue, I posed this question in our group: what makes a comic book black? It was actually inspired by a post that Obasi did, but it's a thought that I've had off and on for a couple of years now. Like, what makes a comic book black? Is it that the characters are black, the creative team is black, the publisher? Do all three of those criteria got to be met? And are we pigeonholing black creatives with these criteria? I do understand that this is a much more nuanced uh, thought, but I'd like to hear what you guys think.
Okay. From this has been something that people always everyone has their own opinion, and there's no real de facto wrong or right. Personally, I think whoever is the lead creator of the project, and what they want it to be, it is. You know what I mean? If they want it to be a black book and they are black, it's a black book. Because the logistics of any kind of creation, especially if you want it to be the best of what it is, you have to kind of hire people on talent, and you have to hire them on merit, skill, and sometimes you cannot control who these people are. You know what I mean? So these factors will come in. So it's not saying that you're not going to find people who are black that are talented. I have done books where every single person on the book was black. And it's easier for me because I come from a country or a place where there are more people who are black. So my whole community is black. But when I started to branch out and I needed more people, more talent, I had to I've worked with Brazilians, people from Spain, Italy, Philippines. So, you know, you kind of go where the talent is. So that's just my opinion on it.
Yeah.
Alan, what's your thoughts?
But personally, for me, we talking about a black comic book, or it depends on what you mean exactly by that, I guess. You know, so is Black Panther not a black comic book because the creator isn't black, right?
Yeah. Well, that's what we're trying to figure out, because Obasi's post was one of those, is like his face. He had used the Ice Cube from Friday, you know, when Ice Cube was rolling his eyes, and I guess Obasi was backing a book, or he was going to, until he found out that the writer was white, but the character was black.
Well,
so
I could see that, feeling that, just because you thought you were supporting a black person, maybe, and then come to find out the signs was there that you were supporting a black person, I guess, and then you find out that you were supporting a white person. But I mean, whatever, he made a book. If it's interesting regardless of who made it, because, you know, it's going to be a black book simply off of the fact that the creator is black. If you asking me, if I decide to make a superhero book and I have a white or Asian or, you know, Indian superhero or something like that, I'm still the creator, and it still came from a black person's mind. So if you asking me, that's what makes it a black book, because it's my lens that everything is being filtered through as the creator.
And that's why I asked, are we pigeonholing black creators with this criteria? Because that doesn't necessarily happen with white people. I mean, if you look at Avatar, right, all the characters in Avatar: The Last Airbender are Asian, or come from like Asia, what would be Asiatic continents, but the creators are white. You know, nobody feels any type of way about that. Same with Legend of Korra. So I was just like,
I think a lot of this stems from history and the powers that be when it came to creating stuff, because historically the people who had access to making movies, making comic books to a certain extent, they were white, and they then turn around and they had the power to kind of tell the stories and paint people into the different characters and the different things, even down to history, right? So I think sometimes a lot of this stuff now comes at almost like a role reversal or trying to make up for stuff. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it will be harder depending on the community that you are from. As I said, for me to do 100% black book is easy.
Yeah.
Black writer, black artist, editor, black, easy because of where I'm from. Different parts of the world, that is not going to be possible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of it too is sometimes it's also the community that accepts your book that makes it what it is too. You know what I mean? So there are things that were being created by people from different races or different cultures, but it was accepted by another culture who believe in it, and that's their, you know what I mean, that's their favorite. Look at how we embrace anime, and we embrace anime culture, we embrace their movies, their, you know what I mean? And it's not something that's inherently from our history. So that's the beauty of creating and the beauty of entertainment. If it's done well, it should be appreciated by everyone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I had a thought about that, but I can't think of it right now. My mind went blank. My mind literally went blank. I cannot believe this shit. I'm not having the best of days. So I want to move on to another thought post that I had. Let me pull it up here real quick, fellas. Let's see. This one right here. And get back here. And this was another one that I had thought of. So I was just curious. Just as creators, how much does your religious beliefs influence your work? And if you were agnostic or atheist, feel free to comment, but be respectful. I did actually remove somebody's comment who was an atheist. I'm like, bro, if you don't agree with religion, there's a respectful way to say it. I'm not fixing to get into an argument or discuss whether you feel people are brainwashed or not by religion. All right, you keep that shit to yourself. But I wanted people to have respectful discourse. So what are your thoughts on this, gentlemen?
So I actually commented on this, so I'll just reiterate that, I'm Muslim, born and raised, mother Muslim, father Muslim, grandparents Muslim, way back all to a lot of history that I won't bore you guys with, but basically I'm molded by that, right? So it's certain things that I won't do. I might not be presenting Islam inside of a story, but it will stop me from doing things that I think would compromise my moral background, right? So, and that way, it it influences my work and the limitations that I'm going to put inside of myself, or the messaging that I won't touch. Like, for instance, Invincible season, the new season of Invincible, the 4th episode, I would never make anything like that, right? I mean, I don't knock nobody for enjoying it. I'm not going to rap nothing like that. But you'll never.
I haven't watched it, so.
Well, when you do me a favor,
just tell me, because I know what happens in the series.
Yeah, but I think this is new to the show, not or they expanded on it in the show. So the new season, when you watch episode 4, get back to me and let me know if it made you feel weird. It was a strange.
Is this did they finally do the episode where old girl rapes old boy?
No, they ain't get there yet.
This is the disembowelment scene, basically.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
it was amongst everything else,
man. So I mean, in that way, it influences what I do, and I do like some of the words inside of my series are from Islam. Like Shifa means healing, and that's present inside of the book. Little small things like that, just that I can draw on. If I was more learned, I would present things as mythos, kind of to like take lessons and stories from the history and teachings and kind of reinterpret them in a creative way, in the same way that somebody might take Greek mythology or something, or anything like that, and or African religious histories and things like that and create new stories from out of those. But you know, that's where I'm at.
I remember, I want to say Virgin had a line of comics in the mid 2000s. It was either Virgin or it was somebody, and I cannot remember the name, but I remember that each character was based on an Islamic principle. They had a female character. Each character, I think it was like 4 different books, and each one represented a different Islamic principle.
That's dope. You can do a lot with that. I said that's dope. You could do a lot with something like that. Just take a thing. You don't gotta beat somebody over the head with it, right?
Yeah.
Or you know, like, or if that's what you into, you know, like I've seen books that present like this is a Christian comic book, and we going to roll like that. That's cool too. But for me personally, I like the idea of doing something like that where we talk about like, okay, this person embodies this thing, and that becomes the core of their character, you know. So.
Yeah, I think there's ways you can incorporate it with, like you said, without beating somebody over the head. It's the same thing with being black. Like we've had this discussion in our group, just amongst me and the other admins. Like, it's not that I'm against black characters, but me being black doesn't have to enter the room first. You know, you don't got to walk into a room and bust in and say, "Hey, I'm black, motherfucker." Like they can see that. There's ways you show and there's ways that you say, and you can do certain things without having to reiterate to me what you already know. So,
yeah. So I would say your religious beliefs can influence your work for the good or for the for the bad. Personally, even if you do not have a belief system or you do not believe in, let's say, a set religion, it doesn't automatically give you full reign that you can do anything in a book. It doesn't mean that, because you still have cultural norms, you still have beliefs of your own. Because something people automatically sometimes think is because a person's an atheist or agnostic that they're just inherently evil. They're not necessarily inherently evil. They still govern. They still don't want to be killed. They still don't want their children to be killed. They don't, you know what I mean? So it's just that they do not believe in a higher power, or they don't have the same religious dogmas, right? It's almost like how some people will swear by certain medicines, and there's some kind of proof, or we can say, well, this worked for me or whatever. But I will say it does impact what you do, and sometimes there is a freedom, but you have to be respectful. With all things, you need to be respectful, because you know what I mean. We are at a stage where everyone's belief is just as important, because of the way how things are functioning, that kind of thing, right? So yeah, even if you don't have one, you still have to respect others, and it will influence what you do and what you don't do.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, even I would
just
say,
give me one sec.
Huh?
I say continue. Just give me a sec. You can continue.
Yeah, you gotta do, bro. You know how this show roll. I would say that for me, right, I would want people to just be respectful. Like, if you were going to do, like, I have a Christian background. I'm not the greatest practitioner of Christianity, but I'm Christian. And so, like, let's say, like, doing gay characters and whatnot, I would want to be respectful of that, because I would want somebody who was a gay writer to be respectful of my religious beliefs. I wouldn't want you, and what I mean by that, people, is I wouldn't want some gay dude to write a Christian as a zealot, you know? The same way I wouldn't want somebody to write every Muslim as a terrorist, or as the Taliban, or practicing some extreme form of Sharia law or anything like that. Like, no, because I know Muslims that do bad shit. They're regular people. I know Christians that do bad shit. They're regular people. They do good and bad. You know, I've never met a whole lot of zealots. Though I will stay away from the Hebrew Israelites. I will stay away from them brothers. If I see a bunch of brothers with afros wearing purple, I'm going the other way. Because them brothers is very militant. And they will be out there on the side of the road with that microphone and that speaker, and they don't got a soapbox. They got boxes and podiums. I will go the other way. But let's move on from that, right? Let me get that off the screen. I had made a video, but I decided not to release it. But I'm just going to ask the question. I think I still actually have my banners up. And this was kind of along that similar lines of your religious beliefs. I want to know for you all, what role does politics play in your creative process?
So I'll have to go first because it's easier for me, because I don't have that. Again, is where I am in the world, where we are, even though we still have a democratic system, two-party system. Technically, they're both the same. A lot of things. It's not as divided as American politics, where you can actually see that division down the middle. So basically, it does not affect me. It's basically the same as religion. Be respectful. You could use world instances to create characters because you know they do exist, but at the same time, you guys got to kind of know what you're doing. You kind of got to read the room, kind of thing. And sometimes, because you have an issue with something, it's not always the best time or the best medium to, say what you have to say. And again, everybody's kind of different on it. As I said, with the U.S. government, U.S. situation and stuff, I find that politics is a bigger thing. So for me, it doesn't affect my work. You probably can't tell where I am, because a lot of the stuff too, I kind of approach things sometimes from trying to show both sides and let you decide what is what. There's no clear good or bad or evil. Sometimes everything just kind of goes to shit at the end. So I'm a little bit more neutral in that aspect.
This is why I wanted you as my co-host, because I'm assuming you're on the East Coast, right, ALIM?
Yeah, I am.
So I'm on the West Coast, right? I'm in the Pacific Northwest. Alan is in the Caribbean. You could just see like how far apart that is. And so that's why I wanted him as my host, because he has an outside view of things. I mean, like you said, in the States, as me and you both know, politics is huge. It is governing everything that we do. I mean, it's affecting comic books. I mean, you look at what is it? I can't think. Is it levies that they put on there? The on imports? I can't think of the term he used.
Tariffs.
Tariffs. There we go. Tariffs and things like that. And now, because rising gas prices, I think USPS is going to start adding fuel service charges to deliveries and things like that. But in keeping in line with the question, for you, what role does politics play in your creative process?
I mean, I guess it's a lot of words. I guess we're talking about politics as far as like government is concerned inside of this thing. So, I mean, it changes the price, definitely, of being able to make a thing and fund and shipping and all that other stuff. But as far as my process of being creative, politics is not something that I really ever pay too much attention to. To me, the right side and the left side is all bullshit. It's things that I completely disagree with on both sides. It's a couple of points that I agree with, but things that I disagree with that all of these people are doing are so intense that really fuck all of y'all, and for Democrats, speaking about Democrats and Republicans, both, like they got a lot of stuff with them that I don't agree with. Now, if we're talking about the politics of being Black in America or something like that, then that's a different subject. And for me, my view kind of aligns with like Mos Def once said, right? I find it depressing. It's never no in between. We even niggas and sorry, what kind of language barriers?
Have you ever watched this show?
He said, I find it depressing. There's never no in between. We either niggas or kings, we either bitches or queens, right? So my philosophy right now, and it may change one day when I approach a story that demands it, is I want to create something where these black characters are black by coincidence into the story. You know what I mean? It's not the central driving narrative. I hate to see like back in the 90s and early 2000s, we all typecasted as the same thing, the hood boy, whatever, breakdancing robber,
or you got to be the overly intellectual brother that's quoting Malcolm X, or what was the quote? They used to put it in a lot of movies. A mind is a terrible thing to waste. I mean, that was in House Party 2. I still remember they had it. They plugged it in there, and that's kind of what I was asking, because that is a socio-political thing, and we've read books where it's like, okay, yeah, we could definitely see where your politics, play a role in this, and that's why I said in the last thing, like, me being black, my blackness don't got to enter a room before me. I can enter into that room first, and this is actually a discussion. I don't know if Alan remembers me, him, Obasi, and Amani. We had about a year ago. And it was an interesting debate. And I was just like, can I just be black by happenstance? Do you have to have me show up and tell you exactly who I am, what I believe, so you know what you're dealing with? Can't you learn that about me little by little? Because other people don't got to do that shit, you know? And then the other question that I had is this one right here, is once your political beliefs are known, should your political beliefs be held against you? And my personal thought on this is no, unless it subverts your work. Kind of like an example, it's not politics, but like you look at like R. Kelly, we see what he did, we know what he's in jail for, and that kind of subverts his work and his legacy, because we no longer look at the man the same way. Can we look at the work the same way? And I know some people say you got to separate art from the artist, but sometimes that's hard to do based on what people say, do, or believe. So it subverts their work and their legacy. What do you guys think? Should your political beliefs be held against you once they're known?
I think people take it a little far with being quick to everybody. For me personally, everybody don't have to be in total alignment in what they believe. You know what I mean? And how they feel. That's true for religion. That's true for politics. That's true for just basic life philosophies. I'll take you as you are. You know what I mean? As long as you're a decent person. If you still like Trump, then we can argue about that. You know what I mean? And then talk about other things that we both
absolutely
and enjoy. You know, I don't gotta disown you as a family member because you decided that you don't want to be Muslim anymore. You know, like at the same token, like, give me some grace. Give me that same grace. You know what I mean? Give me make excuses inside of your head for me if that's what you have to do. But just like maintain the cordialness of our relationships between them. But it's a lot of people getting canceled for not feeling the same way. So much so that like I don't even bother expressing most of my opinions to.
It's not worth it. You can get yourself on. So that's a really tricky question, right? And sometimes you feel like a man out of time, because I came up and was an adult in a different time where the norm was different, literally different, where things were still wrong, as you said, and if things came out about a person, yes, they could get damaged. But if they were doing something and they were good at it, once it wasn't necessarily like a crime. So I'll give you an example. I came up in a time when people came out of the closet. And if their work was good and they had a fan base, people didn't care. Things like certain domestic squabbles and different things like that was like, that's not our business. If you are still performing, but we then shifted to a point where if someone did something that the greater community did not agree with. And I would even go to say as far as a crime. I mean, if the greater community did not agree with you taking someone's shopping cart, you could have lost your job, your livelihood, your house. And then you say, are we going too far in one direction? No.
Yeah.
So it, as you said, it kind of gets to a point that personally you kind of got to be careful to who you express who you are to. And as Alim said, you got to give grace because you want that same grace in return. And you're not going to always agree with certain things. You're not always going to have the same views on health, uh, foods, all these different things. We do not agree on a ton of things. And I find, I kind of find it just almost living in two different worlds. Coming from that world, where we did, as you said, you had to separate the person's actions from who they were on TV or who they were as a sports person. I was a big Mike Tyson fan when I was a kid. And if you was a Mike Tyson fan growing up, he was one of the toughest people to root for. This man was street fights, assaults. Every time he was he was like, oh my God. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He could not even survive now. He could not, you know what I mean? He could not survive now with
I'll give you one. Lou Rawls. If you understood if you ever watched Unsung on Lou Rawls and you knew just how bad he beat his wife, like nowadays, he never would have survived. He never would have. Once that got out, his career would be over. Yeah. I mean, we've seen
and
that.
It's a different time. It's a different time. So yes, the times are different. And as I said, something to do with the last question where y'all were talking about politics. And one of the real things that governs your work is the social norms govern your work. So if things change, your work will change to appease the social norms. You know what I mean? So if you've lived long enough or you know things in history, there's certain things that were socially acceptable that changed. You know what I'm saying? And there's certain things that from different communities are different. When I was 18, I came to America, and one of the first things that people told me, you can't drink. And I came from a country that we was drinking at 16. And it was like, what the fuck you mean I can't drink?
You know what? That actually reminds me. Since you said that reminds me the last topic, what my thought process was, because you said how where you come from, everybody's black, and it reminded me, I read this book about Colin Powell, and his parents were Jamaican immigrants. And when they came to New York, they celebrated their first black police officer. The community did, but where they came from, all the police officers were black. That still ties into this because it's the socio norms. And then to add on to what Alan was saying, politics play a role in comics. For anybody who, I don't want, because it's funny now. People are like, I don't want social justice themes in my comics. I just want to read the fantasy, and I'm like, bitch, you love the golden age, right? But the golden age is filled to the brim with World War II propaganda. Everybody, Google world's finest #1. Do you think it is a coincidence that Batman, Superman, and Robin are sitting on the barrel of a warship cannons? That's World War II propaganda. Yeah, then you go to the 50s. You have McCarthyism and seduction of the innocent. That's part and parcel why the Comic Code Authority was formed. Either you govern yourselves or we will govern you for you. Then you get socio-political themes in the 60s with Denny O'Neil and some others, the 70s, the 80s. I've brought up Emperor Doom, graphic novel from the 80s. You think they had the Soviet army in there for just no reason? At least we forget, going back to the 60s, where was Iron Man at? Where was Tony Stark at? He was in Vietnam. That was not by coincidence. They were communists, So it's been all throughout history, and like I said, just different time. And it fit whatever was going on at the time. That's what it was. But now it's like your political beliefs can be like, I don't care. Like you said, Alim, I got friends that voted for Trump. We can have a respectful conversation. I got two. One of them, I'll hold a conversation with. Another one, I didn't unfriend him. I just unfollowed him. Because you can do that on Facebook. You can unfollow somebody. I'm like, dude, I love you. If you call me and you want to talk sports, we can do that. We just won't talk politics, and I don't want to see your page. Because I know what it does.
I had to unfollow my uncle like 12 times, but we gonna sit on the porch and chop it up when I see you.
Yeah. When my homeboy called me, we talk about anything else. We've actually had to sit in the like he actually contacted me with things like, yo, I got to get it right because this messed up our friendship. And I'm like, yeah, bro, I love you. I just let you have your space over there. I have mine over here, and we good. You know, respectful discourse about it. Now, part of the reason why I brought this question up was because I remember there was a little dust up between, I'm going to mess up his name, William Satterwright and Tyler Forrest Martin. And I just thought about it, and I'm like, I could care less what, you know, because I think William had said something about Tyler being a Trump supporter. I'm like, I don't care. I'm at a point now, look, whoever you voted for, you got to live with that decision. You see what's going on, you voted for it, you live with it, you clean it up. Same thing that I had to do during the Biden administration. I voted for that. I got to accept the good with the bad. And that's it. Move on. But let's change subjects, right? This is a good conversation. Now, one of the other...
We all on our way out the door. We all canceled, just so you know. 3 of us is cooked.
I don't get it. How you gonna cancel somebody? You want to cancel something for me? Cancel my credit card debt, bitch. Cancel that shit. Make me cancel that. Like, you know what, Negro? You gonna be debt free. Oh, I'm so sorry you had to cancel something of mine. Cancel that. Thank you. I'll live with it. I don't know what I'm gonna do without my Visa card. Thank you. Anyway, another big thing. Rob from Comics Explained has recently started showcasing indies. I saw the video he did on the antagonist. Speaking of Tyler Forrest Martin, I hadn't read the antagonist, but I saw Rob's video. I think he did the video on the second version, because if I remember correctly, because Tyler did 2 different versions of that book, and I thought this is kind of cool. But it made me think, what changed with Rob? And I think that whole dust up with Milestone, maybe in his camp, somebody started asking him the question, and I would love to ask him the question, like, what changed? Because, you know, I've followed Rob for like 10 years. Rob, believe it or not, Rob is a big inspiration for this show. Rob is the reason why I didn't sell my Invincible comic, because I had got them graded and pressed. I was getting ready to sell them. I don't own many. I own 4, like 15, 16, no, 14, 15, 17, 18. So I bought those I was getting ready to sell them, but then I watched his series on Invincible, and I'm like, oh shit, Invincible was better than what I thought it was. Plus, Rob is also the reason why I picked up a psychology book, because I liked how he was able to bring up some of the psychological arguments, or the philosophical arguments, I should say, not psychological, but I did not pick up a psychology. I picked up a philosophy book, and I liked how he brought up the philosophical points in Invincible. So I just thought it was interesting that he started covering indies. And what's you guys' take on that?
If he can continue with it, I think I made a reply to it in the post. Everything boils down to economics, right? A lot of the indie people who follow indies, black indies that have channels that talk about comic books, they do not cover a lot of indies. Some of them say, well, yeah, we do cover, but most of the time, whenever I go and I watch, it's usually about a mainstream book. And when before, and you ask about indies, they usually said the reason they do not cover indies is because nobody will watch, or their viewership levels will drop. And this is a money thing. It's about money, right? So I think Rob has the amount of fan base and the insulation that he can cover what he wants. So it would be great if he can continue, because I think he has the potential to open the doors for a lot of people in the community that wouldn't be seen by certain people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, as somebody was saying, a good book is a good book, right? And if we have good books, you want your books, you know, you want to be seen, right? There's a lot of people who have good intentions, who are in black influencers, but my problem with it sometimes is there's a lot of picking and choosing in terms of who they promote, who gets the go ahead, who gets the green light, that kind of stuff, right? So while everybody's kind of like with their hand in the air, pick me, you're not getting picked. So Rob is going to do it, and it will benefit. This is a case where if it will benefit people, by all means. This is a case where, is it about politics? Is it about the books? Is it about the person? Is it about the sales? And as I said, it will all boil down to economics. If it benefits him and if it benefits the creators, it will continue. If he does it and he realizes there's no benefit in it, he'll slow down. You know, because that's economics drives everything.
Yeah.
I believe what is it? Tyler's website crashed basically because so many people flooded it. It was not built to withstand that type of it didn't have the bandwidth for that type of thing.
And that shows the amount of power he has to influence people. And that's what we need people in the communities that have that power to influence people to do stuff. And we do not have people that powerful
to do it.
Yeah. Speaking of which, ALIM, you're friends with Edward. His book just got featured by Rob.
Yep.
I think that came out yesterday.
I was the art director. My team, same art team that worked on Deathblade is the same art team that worked on the Diary of Sweet Pea.
Yeah, I know he was real excited about that, and I said it's a great opportunity for him.
So my whole take on this whole Rob thing, man, I think he one of the people that's being kind of dragged along with the bus, kind of. And everybody not from the same place. Everybody don't have the same background. You know what I mean? So while his opinions were presented offensively, right? I don't think that makes him in the group that they're trying to put people. They're trying to group him with like some real life grifters, man. People that's bread and butter is
critical drinker and
all neurotic. He's not that. And I'll tell you why. If he was like that, then the video that he made when he made an apology, which people said was bullshit. But he said a lot of things inside of there that would be have a negative impact on his his company. Basically, he got 2.6 million followers on YouTube, and if you got to keep them happy, because like you said, it come down to economics. So no, if like I wouldn't denounce, well, I would, but if I was a person whose business was modeled after pleasing people who look to you for stay away from anything black or woke or whatever, then I'm not denouncing ICE. I'm not going on my channel and denouncing ICE and Trump and saying I feel the same pain that y'all feel. They called me. They said a lot of things, but then on top of that, to go and put Godhood on there, which is at 100,000 in 4 days. So big ups to that. And then to go and put Deathblade on there, which is at like 40,000 in a day. That's not something that you do if you are what they say you are. So personally, I understand why people was upset. I'm not taking nothing from nobody, but I think that is kind of misplaced with him. That's just my personal opinion. I don't know Rob. Rob don't pay me. I don't get no benefit from it.
I mean, me neither. But I like to give, because like I said, I wasn't in line. Like the way that I initially envisioned this show was something like what Rob was doing. And Rob really did inspire me to pick up a philosophy book. I was on Rob's side. I was like, this is bullshit. Especially with the whole milestone thing, like if you knew anything about Rob's channel, he never covered that. He never did. I think prior to The Antagonist, Rob had covered one indie book, and hundreds of videos. like his bread and butter was Marvel and DC and helping you understand what these stories are talking about. I kind of agree with what you said, and that's what's kind of made me think like he's kind of been drug along in this thing, and people have tried to make him out to be something that he's not. Like he said, I follow these guys not because I agree with their opinion, but because they're not 100% wrong all the time. I'm not 100% right all the time. And if you really want to learn more, you got to know what the other side is thinking. You know, people are quick to hate things, but it's like, do you even really listen? You can't fight this thing over here because you don't even really know what they're saying, because you won't even listen to what they're saying. You don't got to agree with it, but you won't even listen.
Yeah, people take that follow thing a little far. So I had both of those guys inside of my YouTube follow list for a while. For the longest, it was Comics Explained, Comic Storian, Dope Spill, and then like the TV show reviewers like Heavy Spoilers and all of them for a while. Those guys popped up. I put them in. Over time, eventually, I'm not sure, they might still be on there. I might just have them muted or something like that. I don't agree with them. I don't like them, but still somehow they end up inside. They on my list. That don't mean.
I work in an office, so I spend about 80% of my day in front of a computer. So I watch a lot of YouTube, or I have something in the background just to try to keep me sane. And you need something to kind of listen to that's entertaining, something that's interesting. And as you said, you go through phases. There are people from there are channels that I will tell you that I like, and when they have certain guests on or they start to behave a certain way, I will like, yeah, I can't listen to this anymore. And these are people that I like, that would be on the good side of the fence. There are people who I listen to from some other channel, and as I said, if it's a topic or a comic book or a movie or something I don't want, you know what I mean? You got the choice. It's just entertainment. You know what I mean? As we were saying, we come from, this is a different age where a lot of what you believe is what people will decide what kind of person you are on every single level, down to if you eat meat, if you're a vegan, what's your stance on children, every single aspect. And I guess that is just the world that we live in now, right? So, but I guess I am able to see it for what it is. I know that these things do not affect me on that level. I kind of just stay out of it. There are things that, and then there's also things that, because something offends me, I'm a person who will block, stop using, stop buying or whatever, but I don't need to then turn around and broadcast it and say I have stopped doing so and so because of something. If I following there are indie comic books in this space that I've read them, I don't like them. I'm not going to create a post and blast and say this. I'm just not going to back the next campaign quietly. You know what I mean? You don't need to do, so it's a different time and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I get you, man. And just first of all, it's strange to me that people constantly engage in something that they know they don't like just to make them go and talk about how much they didn't like it, which is why I stopped watching stuff like Critical Drinker and Nerd because it's just it's negativity that I don't need. At first, I was watching it to disagree with, what I mean? Like I found myself disagreeing with them, and that was not a novelty for a little while. Yeah. But like it started wearing you down after a while. And absolutely. I think in my life, so I took it out of it.
Yeah.
I'm like you. I listened to a little bit of Critical Drinking, and I realized this motherfucker hate everything.
Just hate.
I can't do it. I can't do it. He just likes everything.
The damn show and talking about how you don't like it. Drop the show.
And which I'm surprised that Critical Drinker liked Blue-Eyed Samurai. Because I had a friend, she would post a video, so I'm like, okay, let me see. Nothing wrong. Let me see what dude's talking about. I'm like, oh, this motherfucker hate everything. Everything that ain't straight, male, white. I'm like, okay, bro. Everything's DEI, whatever. And I try to believe in that.
He boxed into that. You know what I mean? Even if his opinion changed on that, that's like you better figure out how to do a job application if you stop doing that shit because that's your whole
is their brand.
thing.
Is their brand. Is a brand.
And that's going to what you were saying. Like, if that was Rob's fan base, then you're absolutely, he would not be able to put Tyler Forrest Martin's the antagonist on it. He wouldn't be able to put Deathblade on it because his audience would not allow for that.
Yeah,
you know, if that's what he was. And then once again, I thought that whole shit was bullshit. I've said on this show multiple times, I was on Rob's side because you can't force somebody to like something. You can't force somebody to do something. You know what I mean? It's just, if you don't believe, think, and do the way I do, you doing life wrong. I'm like, I'm 41 years old, born in the great year of May, 84, in the great month of May. Fuck you. Like, fuck you.
On the plus side of this whole thing, he dropped 2 indie black comics on his thing. Whatever the situation and the events lined up in a way that now this opportunity here. And if he not the biggest, he one of the biggest YouTubers, and hopefully, you know, he had 130 some odd thousand combined between those two. I hope that's enough for him to continue to do indie comics. It don't always got to be black indie. You can mix it up or whatever, but if he does that and you get a playlist of indie inside of there, then, you know, if Comic Storian's still doing his thing and Dope Spill.
Comic Storian's passed away.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he passed away like 2 years ago.
You mean
Rob? Yeah, it was
who's the other guy? Yeah, who's the other guy? There's another guy who does something like that. Oh God, I can't remember his name. Where he does comic tropes. There's that guy too. He does the comic tropes guy. He does something similar. That talks about.
I need to get them back in my. I need that name so I can put it on my playlist. But Dope Spill is another one. He get, you know, they do numbers. But all those guys, man, if it look good from his page and it's bringing numbers on there, then you're going to start seeing it come up inside of other platforms. We don't need the whole show, but just give us an indie playlist so we can see these.
It's something because, you know, I Marcel Dupree posted something. He's like, y'all bullied Rob enough that now he's covering indies. And my biggest thing was just whatever happened with that whole milestone dust up and questioning his blackness. I just think him and his camp, they started talking and it brought about a change. And like you guys said, if he can keep it up and something positive could come out of it, why not?
Great. Why not?
Why not? Rob, if you watch this show, you know, Alan has a book, Diary of Stray Dogs, 1 and 2, Neon Ghost. He got another Kickstarter, you know. If you just want some good cyberpunk action with cocaine, you know, watch his. He got a book. All right. So that's it for my opening monologue, fun stuffs. All right. Let's get into Diary of Sweet Pea. Mm-hmm. Take it away, Ellen. Tell us about your book. I'm going to go ahead and pull up that Kickstarter.
So this is like, it's a gritty sci-fi adventure where it's character driven. We follow Amani Williams through an invasion in Philadelphia. Well, the story is centered in Philadelphia. The invasion is worldwide. And she is discovering these powers that are within herself that she's not truly aware of, trying to survive through that world.
All right. And this is your Kickstarter. This is for issue 3, right? Yeah. Well, issues
1 and 2 are presented as well, but this is issue 3's Kickstarter. Yes.
So what inspired you to do this story? What was the catalyst? How did this come about?
All right. So, I mean, it's pretty typical of most creators, I think. Always drew characters, created ideas for them, growing up and things like that. Dungeons and Dragons games and other opportunities to flesh out characters and give them background. So I have a big toolbox of things to use. But during I kind of got away from that in my adult life, but COVID happened and that got me home for a couple of months. So while I was home on furlough, I started with art, got back into that, painting and drawing and things like that. Got some online courses for character drawing to see how that works. Because originally I was going to just learn how to do it and do everything by myself. Then I happened upon Facebook groups I create comic books and you know, all the indie comic book groups. Met a guy in there, Stephen Duffy from Apex Comics UK. He kind of schooled me and put me onto the game. Helped me a lot. His name is titled. He's titled in the credited in the first 2 issues. So he walked me through, and that's how I got into making comic books. What got me to this particular story is just what I think is important in my community. So in Philly, we got a lot going on with people from a young age, and I spent my teenage years in Philly. So in the streets, it's like, it can be monstrous sometimes. As I think back on it now, you know, there's a lot of PTSD moments, right? But everybody else, maybe it's not a very common thing, though, depending on where you come from. But for me, it's not uncommon to not have everybody that you came up with or grew up with still be there. You know, a lot of my friends from high school, I probably would have to use a second hand to list the people that had a violent death or are in jail for the rest of their life or something like that, right? So how do those things affect children, even the ones that come from good homes? With the influences that they have inside of the house versus the world that they have to live in when they go outside. That's the thinking behind the Diary of Sweet Pea and why I'm crafting the story in the way that I am.
Okay, that's a very interesting take, because I like talking to you about that now. I like the fact that you kind of created monsters out of basically using the streets and the toughness as a metaphor and going from there. I realize that the story also has like a strong element of family and protection and that kind of thing. That was something that was intentional, or like that was always your center of the story.
Yeah, absolutely. From the start. This is my first series, so you know, I hope you guys like it, and I'm doing my best to represent this story, and you know, do that justice. I think that's a very important topic. You know what I mean? And I'm trying really hard to get it right. So I'm always looking for ways that I can improve and keep going forward.
Yeah, I like the way how you presented, especially the male character and the characters in general. There was something about the characters. You made them likable and easy to root for. Sometimes even with myself, I create characters that are very hard to root for. But you made these characters in a way that from the time I got into book 1, I was invested in the characters and their story. And you kind of took us there on a ride and an adventure on a loop. And I think that was very, very, very well done.
No, I mean, I don't have much to say. Like you guys said, I love the fact that you know, there's an element of family. I think what Alan is saying is that the characters feel very human. Like you want to root for them. I mean, there's some things I was like, oh, okay, that don't make sense. I mean, the world's going to shit, you know, like I'm just, and it's a minor thing. Like I cannot think of the girl who teased Imani. You see her in issue 2, and she's like, "You abandoned me," and I'm like, "Bitch, the world's going to hell. Everybody running for their life. What you mean I abandoned you? Why you didn't follow me?"
Yeah, and she was actually mean to her on the bus.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
You know,
yeah,
but
that's her nature. That's that character that you're talking about specifically. I'm trying to create not a villain, right? Someone that would be an antagonist to a normal life, but then try to kind of peel back a layer where you see a certain victimhood inside of that character as well.
You definitely did hint that.
You
And
did
something
that, yeah.
Something that Alan said in our last episode when we were talking to Owen is that the antagonist is not necessarily a villain. They're just opposite the protagonist.
And And I think, as you said, she is the opposite of Sweet Pea. So she is that. One of the things that my first editor told me was you need to create tension in every scene. There's supposed to be tension. And she is that tension. So I was surprised to see when she turned up. But then seeing what she's doing and how she's developing as a character, how she's pivotal to the story.
Yeah.
And she's actually, there's a part where she's such a strong character in terms of she sticks out. Her personality in the story is she's the only one with that personality.
Oh,
So
yeah. That's a good point. And then when you guys read issue 2, you're going to understand this one panel scene in issue 2. You're going to be like, for her age, she understands the brevity of the situation and understands what's happening to her. I don't want to say it. I'll put it to you like this. For any of you guys who have ever watched the anime Gachi Yakuda, when they meet the girl who has the boots, if you know what happened with that character, it's kind of hinted at here.
Yeah.
You know, and this girl understands that. Like, I can't remember the blonde haired boy's name. Forgive me. That's actually, you know what?
Jaden. It's Jaden, I think.
Jaden? Yeah. When
Jaden.
you understand her relationship with Jaden, you will understand why she's doing certain things. And for her age, she very well understands that. I mean, she also understands the situation going on in the world around her.
And the ability to make yourself important. Because if you're important, you're not going to get killed. So that's right. So I was also, me and Ron was talking about it. I don't know if it is, you could correct me if I'm wrong, but you could kind of see there's a lot of influences from things like there's a little bit of Lovecraft Country, and there's a little bit of Walking Dead. There's a little bit of, even the last book, there's a little bit of that kind of Cthulhu like thing. What were some of your experiences, or what are some of the things you kind of read that you kind of draw reference from?
Right. So the vibe that I was originally trying to capture was kind of on The Last of Us, the first book, the first game, if you played that, right? Yeah. So that was the starting point, right? There's definitely The Walking Dead inside of there. In issue 2, I definitely feel that, like that.
There's
could be
definitely some Infinity War in there too.
Okay.
But no, because so when he busts through the church, the way he's talking, that's the same way Corvus Glaive talks.
Yeah.
No, you should see how much. There's so much dialogue that got cut out of that from just to fit it onto the page, man. That guy.
When he busted through, I said, "This is Corvus. This is the Black Order." I said, I ain't had nothing wrong with it. I mean, that's what I would do if I was invading. I was putting foots and ass like you lesser mammals.
Yeah, just the sheer level of arrogance of that guy. Right?
Yeah.
So, but again, like most of these characters and everything it just goes back to real world influences, right? So maybe not the alien that pops in like Corvus Glaive, but to talk about like Michelle, the character that you were speaking about earlier, right? And her and what she is, like the thinking behind that is when I was young, right? There were young women that was getting older men that and they felt like they were, like you look at them like when you're young, you look at them like they doing something that you not doing, right? That they had to level get into a place where you can't get to, or the cool kid or whatever. But in reality, you're a victim, right? That girl is a victim. So even though, like she has this kind of air about her that make her feel like she's like I'm better than y'all. She's as victimized as Imani, just for different in different ways and for different reasons. So man, I'm just pulling it from anything that makes sense.
Yeah, and you did a good job of that. And like I said, she's aware of that too. But it's like desperate times call for desperate measures. So it's like, for my sake and for Jaden's sake, I will suffer through this because we gotta survive. Because
I want to ask you a question. Is it the fate of the kind of stuff in book one? Is that all a spoiler at this point, or you are open to, because it is the first book? Is that something you're kind of, because
we can talk about whatever we want. I've given up on trying to block spoilers on this book is me just saying trust me, it's good, because like
okay, good. Because funny enough, right? There's I don't know if, when I was growing up, spoilers didn't exist. Literally, people came to school and they would sit and tell you the entire movie. I actually watched Rambo First Blood by listening to other people sit down and tell me the entire movie word for word. So by the time I watched it, nothing can take away from a good story, because if it is a good story, you kind of now want to experience it, right? So in the first book, which is this is the characters we see here, the Imani and her dad and stuff. You did you could talk about how you came up with that twist. Was that always something intentional? Did it all come to you planned, or did it kind of just unfold as you was writing it or working it out on the comic book? Or did you kind of have it like, this is how I got it, this is going to work, and you put it down? How was that? How did you come up with that?
Toned down from the concept phase. Like originally, his form was a lot more obvious once he makes that transition into the other character. Like it was more like kind of anime-ish when he changed, right? But he got the invincible treatment, and this, like he had it to him in issue 1 rather than issue 3 or 4. But that definitely was a pre-planned thing. I wanted to make sure that that he was gone, so that Imani, because it's the thing that makes Imani, right? All right, let's get the spoilers out of the way. So Imani's power system works in a way where she can subconsciously create these things, create constructs. Basically, her imagination kind of warps reality. She doesn't really know what she's doing. So her father passes away, but inside of that, in that moment where she needed protection or whatever, she begging for her dad to come and save her. So her dad's there and save her. That's why he's so much bigger when you see him again, right? He looks like a giant, because now it's her idea of who he is, not who he is.
So because you said that is something that I was wondering when I read the book. And I was wondering, because you've done a way where you can't tell what the power system or how this stuff is happening. It's revealed slowly, but it gives you that thing where you're asking questions. So one of the questions I kind of asked myself was, if her father didn't pass, would she have conjured him up?
If she had seen him, if he was there, then it would make a conflict, and maybe she wouldn't need to have done that. Maybe it would have been something else. But in that moment of need, where it was coming down to the wire, 1 second you allow, the next second we about to be gone. She's thinking it's basically, if I bet your dad can't beat my dad was a person. Right, the strongest person that she could think of, the most protective force in her life that she could think of in that moment is her father. So now he's there to protect her, and he's also there to be her father, so long as she is not aware of his death. But she's, like it's also causing things to her mentally, because we were talking about PTSD and trauma and things. It's like, it's not like you see somebody's head get bitten off when you're 14 years old and then you just okay. By the time we get to, that's going to leave a scar on her forever. And the things that she does later also, create scars on her as a person, as a character.
As an FYI, if you're 14 years old and you see somebody's head get bitten off and you're okay with that, you are not okay. You are what we call a psychopath, and you need to be put down immediately.
Yeah. So that's something that even I didn't even think of it, but you actually did pretty well in this book. Was you kind of handled the kid character's mental state. Too many books we kind of see these kids are all recruited into this army, and they're flying jets and they're killing, they project mass genocide, and then let's go and get some cream sodas, some pizza.
People don't.
Nah, so
people
like,
don't, and that's, I agree with that. Like that's one of the things. And then I don't really want to spoil it, but you know, we know what happens in issue 3. I like that you had her deal with that. With that mental strength, because essentially, because like you said, constructs, she's essentially a living like Green Lantern type of thing, kind of like I think what eventually Alan Scott became, where he didn't need the ring anymore, he could just do it himself, you know. And I like how eventually you do have her deal with the mental toll of that. She eventually will deal with her inner demons, you know. They do come out. I mean, I guess that's a spoiler.
Don't spoil issue 3. I think we talk about issue 1 and 2 openly, but yeah, let's save issue 3 for. Yeah, this is some. To be honest, it is that good in terms of you want to kind of experience it. As I've read the first 2 books twice, and very seldom do I read a book, an indie book, 3 and 4 times, that kind of thing. Usually I kind of get everything I can out of it the first time. The mere fact that there's a lot visually to kind of take in, there's a lot of things that to not take for granted, the way how you kind of do that. So like, for instance, you leave us with so many questions, but still not in a way that we're kind of saying this doesn't make sense. Like there's a part where we're introduced to is that lady, she's a doctor, right? When they kind of, right. And the guy is kind of saying like, we can't lose you. And they went back on it because second I was like, okay. So you're kind of trying to figure out what is this guy? Then there's another part in it too, where me and Ron was kind of debating, was she telling the truth that she met her father, or was that a lie? So there's all these different things that you're kind of making the reader kind of think about. Can we trust what this character is saying? So therefore, now we are in the shoes of Imani because we are going through it, because we aren't too sure of what these characters are saying. So there's a lot of that intrigue that we do not know what is going on, but we're not totally lost.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. You know, that somebody
I'll just tell you,
time to understand and like and get my crazy, mixed up brain.
Well, that's what we do, and that's what we said every time. Like we read you guys' stories, and we like, okay, I can see where this is going. That's what I want. That's what a good story should do. You know, even if I don't know everything, I should still be able to see where it's going and want to go there. So I tried my best to not talk too much about issue 3, but if you read issues 1 and 2, you'll see where that's going. And it's not so much that you know that happens there. It's now you get to read about how it happens. And there's a lot of little fun nuanced things that happens. Even though you know what happens, there's like some fun little nuanced things that will be there for you when you get there. You know, that kind of parlays into what Alan was saying about Rambo First Blood. Like, yeah, I know what happens, but now I get to go see it. And there's other little things that I'll be able to pick up on also. And that's why I told you off camera, structurally from a narrative point, you are structurally sound. Like I didn't really have too much of an issue, just a few little questions, and we liked it. You know, we didn't feel lost. Like we want to know so that we can enjoy the journey even further. So I told you probably have one of the better books that we've read recently.
Thank you. And just to go back to inspirations, do you guys remember have you guys watched the Justice League cartoon?
Yeah.
So do you remember when they were fighting it was Ace King Queen Jack or whatever that group is called, right?
Yeah, that is I want to say that is the Royal Flush Gang.
Royal Flush Gang, right? So they had a new recruit on their team that was a little girl, right? And she was a serious problem, but they didn't really know what she was until she went off. And then, like, in that scene, she was basically about to destroy the world because her powers was going out of control, right? And Batman walked into it, and they had somebody had to go kill the kid. Batman was the one that went in there, and he ended up sitting on the swing with her and kind of calmed her down, or however it played out or whatever. But that character is also like was in the back of my head when I was thinking up Imani.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, Batman, they thought they were gonna have to kill her, and Batman basically talks her down off the ledge.
Yeah.
And eventually, because she doesn't die, I believe. If I remember correctly,
I think that her powers consumed her instead of everybody else, and Batman sat with her inside of that last moment. If I remember it right, but that's how I remember.
It's something like that, or I want to. He either sat with her in her last moment, or he talked her off the ledge. Just some because a similar thing happened in I don't know if you ever read Ultimate X-Men, the original Ultimate X-Men, but there was there's a whole issue where this kid, his mutant powers manifest, but you couldn't get close to him because it would kill you. So Logan goes in there, and Logan is talking to him because Logan can survive it. Logan, it's actually really touching because Logan gives him a beer. He's like, here's your first beer, because this kid is not going to be able to be out in society. Like the only way out of this is I have to kill him. Henceforth, also narratively telling you, I'm not only the best there is at what I do, but I have to do it. I'm the one who's sent in to do this. It's not easy. Gives him and his kid, they have their first drink, and by the end of the issue, it's over. It's a similar thing to what happened in that Justice League episode, where it's like this person's power is out of control. They're not going to be able to function in society. Now we have that moral dilemma. Who pulls the trigger? Because this is the only way there is no way out.
Yeah, see those stories like that, man, they do something for me, man. So if you want to get a kind of idea of my head and my thinking, read that series that you was talking about, because that gave me a little bit of a flutter moment just listening to like imagining it, or seeing that episode of Batman. They said somebody gonna have to kill it. Batman is the darker side of as DC's Justice League or whatever. He's the Dark Knight. So when he say I'll do it, and then he walks in there, and you got this kind of like in the middle of all that destruction, you got this soft moments. That's the feeling, the emotion. That's what I'm trying to invoke with the Diary of Sweet Pea. That's where we're trying to get to.
Okay. Yeah. Now that you mentioned it, we can definitely see that. Yeah. And sometimes it's hard to do the moral dilemma thing. It's because sometimes what me and Alan see is like everybody, like because Alan was like, how Alan, you were saying how we see these kids and they're flying jets committing mass genocide and all this. We are so inclined to make, and I think I said this when Edward was on the show. I know I said it when Owen was on the show. People want to make like super badass nigga number one, whatever. But you don't add any human elements to the character. And Sweet Pea has human elements.
Yeah.
She's dealing with things. She's 14, like you said. And all those things that you saw growing up, you've implemented them in your own way in this series. And it's like, that's not easy. It reminds me of a Tory Lanez song. He was talking about we was raised street soldiers and all this stuff. And he's just, in the whole song, he's just talking about, he couldn't go to school today. I got holes in my Adidas and shit like that. Like that fucks with your head. But we like to make characters where none of that shit bothers them. They go in, wipe out an army. If they're an adult male, they go out, wipe out an army, make love to 12 women, drink beer, smoke, do Allen's cocaine, and be perfectly fine the next morning. And that was, people don't realize this is what really helped make Marvel Comics, was that their characters were not only powerful, but they had real problems. They had doubts. They had insecurities. They had things that mess with them. That makes characters human. It makes them relatable. It makes you likable. That's why people still, for some reason, want Peter Parker to be broke despite all of his connections, like shit like that, because they want to feel some type of connection to that. Oh, you broke? I'm broke. We could be broke together. Except
friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. You can't be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man and be a Fortune 500 company owner at the same time. You're different.
But then that's when you also start talking about a little bit of realism, because it is like, yeah, you like that because of your situation right now. But if you were Peter Parker and you had those type of resources, you would not want to be broke. Me and Alan joke about it all the time. If Netflix wanted to buy this show, he said, we're signing the contract. Have my money, direct deposit, information ready. Like, I do this shit for free. You want to offer me $100 million, Netflix, to shut the fuck up? Okay, fine. I sold out. I'm out of here. But all jokes aside, like, yeah, one thing that is consistent is there is that human element. Do not lose that human element. And it's one of the things I think me and Alan talked about repeatedly. It made your book enjoyable.
Yeah, and you also did things too where I think we spoke about this. I did. You're adding new characters, and each of the characters you add, they're interested in their own way and they're different. So that's the beauty. There was an interaction that it wasn't funny, but it kind of made me laugh in a way. It made me chuckle because what the character spat on another character, but it was so on brand for what that character would do. It just made sense. You know what I mean? Yeah, you know what I mean?
And that's something else too. People don't realize that is important. I don't want to read a book and every character is the exact same.
Yeah.
Like some of the
same when you read them. Yeah, I know.
Some of the best movies are movies where every character has their own little quirk. I'm trying to, like Smoking Aces, right? They're all assassins, right? But every one of those groups was fundamentally different in how they looked and how they operated. They specialized in different things. Like, that makes it fun. They're not homogenous. Like, all of y'all.
It's like one of my favorite movies, Predator. The commandos that was in the jungle. On paper, it would seem as though they're just all command, but they were all different in terms of their attitude or the way how they kind of approach their form of bravado. You know what I mean?
Bill Duke and all of them.
Yeah. No, it was.
Except they all died like some bitches.
You know what I mean? So how do you see the story going in terms of? Do you have it planned to be like one arc, 2 arcs, or are you going to finish this in 6 books? What's the future for the Sweet Pea series?
Well, the Diary of Sweet Pea is an introduction. It won't complete the story, but it's going to complete the this opening arc. And by the end of it, you'll have a full understanding of the world, what's at stake, who the characters are, or at least who the factions are, and what you could expect going forward.
So you sound as though you're gonna jump. You're gonna probably do this thing where you can jump to another character and do a spin-off kind of thing.
Right. So after we complete this is about Sweet Pea's diary. These first 4 books. Okay. After that, we put the diary down, and then we go on into just in the world now. So we may change titles. We may make an adjustment to the title where instead of the Diary of Sweet Pea, it is the blank Sweet Pea instead. Like, Spider-Man, Spectacular Spider-Man, stuff like that. Just to keep the brand recognition. But I definitely plan to branch out, which I did a little bit in issue 3, but not too much. I want to get into what's going on with Fido, what's going on with the Rizoas, what's happening with the Bane more in depth, so that the reader has a full understanding and not just Amani's perspective understanding of everything going on.
Okay. Sounds good.
So kind of following like a similar trajectory of like Stranger Comics, like with his Tales of Asunda. You have like Untamed, which introduces Niobe, and then you have, I can't remember the next book. He has a chronological reading order, but it's different. Then there's like Niobe, she is life. Niobe, she is death. And because I think he even mentioned like she's gonna enter eventually into a god phase. Like there's different phases to this. Seems like you kind of got a similar thing going on with Sweet Pea. And right now we're in that, if you want to say like that untamed phase, like we're being introduced to her and everything else going on. And then you'll introduce some ancillary characters because in his world you have was it Mora, Mocha, whatever, and all of these things are still a part of the greater Tales of Asunda.
I was actually watching something today about creating sequels and franchises, and what you have is a very strong start, because if a franchise or a series is started more around the world, it's more likely to survive or to branch out rather than around a premise or a situation. So I'll give you an example. Terminator was a great premise for the first movie. They were lucky enough to do a sequel that was equally or even better. But from then on, you could only send an android back through time to kill somebody so many fucking times. And it make fucking sense, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Jurassic Park is another one where it was cool when the dinosaurs was in the park. It was cool when you had them comfort. But eventually, you can't go back to that well constantly with the dinosaurs doing the same shit.
You have to reinvent it because they did.
But they brought the premise that no one kind of cares. But I just want to say one thing, Joe. But if you do something now instead, like Harry Potter, or you create it where it's world based, it means that you could always go into that world, create a character, and tell a story, and the fans who love it will come back because they are in love with the entire world.
Because what is it? Because you got Harry Potter, and then what was Monsters? What was it called?
Fantastic Beasts.
Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, which same world but takes place. What was it? It takes place around 1900, between 1900 and 1920. But that just goes into what Alan was saying. Is like when you build an actual world, you always got somewhere to go. And something that we see is that everybody now wants to make this like shared universe, but it's like these things don't go together. Like your characters, all the books under your umbrella, they don't go together. So you don't really have a world. You tell people you do, but you really don't. And it looks like you actually have a world. And so you could probably tell a story about something going on in Brazil because this thing is happening worldwide and everybody could experience it differently.
Right.
Yeah. And people, basically what we're just trying to say, folks, is it's cool to make your super badass character, but if you don't put them in a world where it matters, if you don't build a world around them, then what are you doing? You just got a badass character, and then there's nothing that can stand in front of them. Everything is essentially tissue paper, and that's not as exciting as what you think it is. And you're only going to be able to go but so far with that. But when you build an actual world, you can look at My Hero Academia. That is a prime example of where they built a world. They didn't say superheroes, they said quirks. Now you can tell stories. There's a guy who literally has ashy elbow tape, and they can figure out a way to make him interesting. Maybe not for a bunch of episodes, but at least for a little bit, because everybody's got a quirk. And what that premise is teaching you how to use that quirk to the better benefit of society, or you see what happens when a quirk is used for the detriment of society. And you look at what they did for like 40-something episodes, and I'm just watching the anime. I haven't read the manga. You saw for the first part how quirks could benefit. Then you saw what All for One could do with quirks and tear shit apart. So what happens when you build a world? You can do stuff like that. But a lot of times you've made your character the supreme everything. So what do they do? What world do they in?
For me, I noticed watching Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man first movie again recently. It's far enough now that I kind of forget what like that moment. But one thing about it that stood out to me was like Spider-Man is cool. The web swinging and all of that is all well and good, but it's really the Peter Parker that's inside the suit that makes the story compelling. You know what I mean? Without that element, you lose everything. You might as well watch stick fights on YouTube or something
Yeah, I get you, because a lot of his conflict is from his real life and him being behind the mask trying to repair his real life. So he's trying to save all the people that he can't save as Peter Parker.
Yeah. So I mean, remember he got, what was it, $1 million check, but it was written out to Spider-Man. Peter Parker couldn't cash it. You know what I mean? So that's what we mean by adding those human elements. Like, you're right. His real life, he's boring Peter Parker, just trying to struggle. But as Spider-Man, he really is something different. He's popular. He's cool. He's got his own little side piece who got her own little thing going on, you know, whatever. Mm-hmm. That's what happens. Plus, you know, then there's all the other people trying to kill him or clone him or kill him again, bring people back to kill him, cyborgs, and a whole bunch of other shit. But, you know, you build a world for those things.
The characters that make this, not the powers, it's not the fights, it's the characters. You got to have, the characters need to have character.
Yeah, really. And that's why I love the X-Men. That's why I'm a diehard X-Men fan. You know, all those people are unique. They all got their own struggles. Like, one of my favorite stories is God Loves, Man Kills. And that's a character. That's kind of character. That's almost not a completely character-driven story, but it is a character-driven story. I mean, there's a lot of human element to that. I mean, any of you who've ever read it, the first couple of pages are 2 black kids being chased by an angry mob. That's a human element. They're literally killed at a park, and you see the torment on Magneto's face, even though these were black wasn't the focus, but they were black mutant children. And so, you know, his character is, I care for mutants, and this is a travesty. You know, stuff like that. You know. All right, gentlemen.
Let's get back. I was just saying, let's get back to the. Let's tell us about the. Let's go through the Kickstarter and see what we got here.
All right. So for this Kickstarter, I set my funding goal a lot lower. I'm trying to get it from marketing this time and really flex and build. Start, you know, like, even if I'm starting small and going backwards to get a smaller base, I want to get something concrete and grow from there. Now, printing costs has gone up so much that, you know, we're going to go basic. If you got the first 2 books, you know, there's a really sturdy cover, really, really thick pages on the inside. So for this print run, we're starting small, and then we'll go up as we reach different stretch goals.
Okay.
That will improve the cover. That will improve the inside of the book. Don't get me wrong, you know, even as standard, it's still going to be a quality book. I'm not talking about printing on tissue paper or anything like that. But some people are used to me giving, you know, like, it felt like you need white gloves and a velvet pillow to read The Diary of Sweet Pea. So, you know, we got digital copies available. We got 3 different covers available. One from the interior artist Yusuf Shitu. I'm not counting the sketch cover in there, but that's available also. We have J. Travis Smith, who's IDW and a lot of other companies. He's done art for Second Sight Publishing, a couple of other places. He's done a variant cover. Mark McKenna, who's been with Marvel Comics since 1985 and worked on, you know, a huge amount of books. He also did a cover, and now, you know, this guy's got Spider-Man, Darth Vader, and The Diary of Sweet Pea inside of his resume. So, nice. I mean, that feel good, you know. Let's see.
I was just trying to see if you have, is that listed down here somewhere?
Which one? We want the stretch goals were above. You want to go back up?
Yeah, I was on the stretch goals. He was just talking about all the people.
These are the activity goals for the stretch goals. So,
creative team. Here we go.
No, he's my creative team is the team that's responsible for the book, not the covers that I have. So if you go into tiers, Mark McKenna is featured inside of there. Come down a little bit. He's cover D.
Tell me when to stop. That's cover A.
Who's cover? That's the sketch cover. That's J. Travis Smith's cover. The next one down. There you go. Okay. That's Mark McKenna's cover. So Holochrome is that's Yusuf's cover. Out of the different options, that just made the most sense to me. That's going to only be available available during the Kickstarter. So this one here is actually traditionally drawn.
Mhm.
I have the original.
Okay, that's nice. That's nice.
So I have the original. It's digitally colored, but traditionally drawn by, he had a penciler do the pencils for him. He's an inker, so he did all of the ink work. And, much respect to those guys, because I've sat down with Frank Percy, who's worked at Marvel on Punisher, War Journal, and a couple of other things. He's also featured for the hardcore creators. If you want an original, curated sketch cover done by a Marvel artist, Frank Percy is willing to do something for you on a tier here, and you let them know whatever you want. Doesn't have to be Sweet Pea related. You want to do it for a birthday gift, you can get your brothers fighting Superman on the cover if you want, drawn by a Marvel artist. That's fine by us. But yeah, those guys, man, in a world where digital comic book art is made, to see what they do and what they go through when they making pieces traditionally. They mask certain parts. They might have to cover up this. They're using toothbrushes and all kinds of stuff, man. It's like, I see why original art pieces are valued the way that they are valued, like an original page drawn by whoever. It's just so much that goes into it. So
yeah. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at like some of the stuff that Philip Thompson's done with Collections in Black. He shows a lot of page work, especially from older books, and even some of the newer stuff like Bitterroot. Those black and white pages do look different, man. It does add a different sense of brevity to it.
Yeah, it's amazing, man, to see all the work that goes into it compared to like working on Procreate, where if you want a pattern, you just change the brush to that pattern and then draw it. When a guy gotta take the magnifying glass out and get busy, you gotta appreciate that. You gotta respect that.
Yeah.
So
that's one of the things that I kind of regret is I don't have any real original art from some of my work, because a lot of my creators, we work digitally. There's a few people that they have some original art, but they're so far away. I don't know. I never asked for it, that kind of thing. But it may be something that I would look into probably getting, because you said it is valuable. It does have, some kind of value to it. Yeah.
And it just feels official, man. It feels more official when you get it. Trust me, treat yourself at least once. Try to get your hands on something, figure out something.
So this is Percy. This is who he was talking about, everybody. With that sketch cover deal, this is what he was talking about. If you wanted a sketch cover by a Marvel artist. So just scrolling down on the Kickstarter, showing some of the other thing.
And that's high. That price is high because, like I said, these guys are talented, and that's not, it's not a small thing. You got to switch your thinking. You're thinking about actual thing, what you're,
And I think that's what you want from a Kickstarter. You want to be able to get something that is unique. You want something that you don't want. Instead, going forward, I'm going to try to say, well, these covers are only available on the Kickstarter. When we go to print, it's going to be a standard cover to make those people who kind of bought you feel special. You know what I mean? That's how it used to be. Kickstarter stuff was something different. It shouldn't be, well, I can get this in the store, and you know what I mean? You got to kind of make it. You got to make it.
I definitely, every time it's been, we usually do, and we did this time too. It's just this time it's the hollow chrome cover. It's only going to be on Kickstarter, but it's normally I have the standard cover as well as the Kickstarter exclusive cover available. And we might have a couple of left over after the Kickstarter ends, just because of the ordering work, and of course I'm gonna get rid of those. But after that, it's a one print thing. Basically.
Yeah. I'm just scrolling through, showing some more of the, like you said, the additional things. You get stickers here. You got a poster.
Posters. Trading cards for the first time too.
Huh? Oh, trading cards. Okay.
Yeah. So
especially since trading cards have made a big comeback lately over the last 2 to 3 years. Especially like those old Marvel DC cards from the 90s. People are buying those up in droves. And so that's just the creative team. You want to talk about your creative team? or did you already talk about all of them?
Well, I mean, I'm the creator of the series and the writer. Again, I will never fail to shout out Stephen Duffy, who helped me get my start. I couldn't reach him for this one, but he was with me for issue 1 and 2. He helped a lot with the writing in issue number 1, a little in the issue number 2. This one I took the training wheels off and got it done for myself. But so shout out to him. Yusuf Shitu has been with me the entire time as my line artist. This guy is extremely talented, and I truly don't understand why he's not working for like major professional publishing places. He covers a lot of different styles. He worked on Deathblade and The Diary of Sweetie, as well as another book that I was there with him with called The 5/3 Crew. Just a great guy. Alfred Etal's our colorist. You see the he's a new colorist for in issue number 3, and I think his work speaks for itself. I like a certain amount of vibrancy inside of the art in my book, and he nailed it, man. He's just super talented.
I see that too. A lot of bright magentas and whatnot.
Yeah.
And that explains why you chose the Warren cover to be your hollow foil. That's gonna be really nice. And
that's the personal pet peeve of mine. I like it. So then SK is our letterer, man. This guy came in and
he did a good job, man. He took part.
Elevate, and this guy is a talented person. Please, if you guys, anybody's a creator that's looking for these guys, with or without me as art director, please come and find them and give them some work, because these are people that deserve to be working. You know what I mean? And they're valuable members, and they elevate projects that they work on. Michael J. Williams, as well as the editor. And, this is a guy who is able to take that ball of yarn that I come with and kind of smooth it out into cohesive play-by-play. Okay, we might have to do this a little bit different. It's not just you forgot a period here and you need quotation marks here. That's one thing, right? But to really be able to sit down with somebody and look at a moment and its impact and really figure out, okay, do we need to expand this or do we need to shrink this? That's the kind of editor that Michael is.
Yeah.
So again, these are the kind of guys that you want, kind of guys that I was blessed to have with me on this team.
Yeah, editors are something that we talk about a lot in our group, and the importance thereof. And there's a lot of books that we're like, we as individuals see where you're going, but you needed an editor to better, help guide your vision. Cannot underestimate a good editor at all. Let me see here. Actually, let me get this off the screen.
So you've been funded. So basically now you're in that stage where you're going to keep pushing. That's the next stage.
Keep pushing. And this is I don't like marketing. You know what I mean? I don't like going online and saying, hey stranger, this is my government name. Let me tell you about myself. And I'm a private person. I'm not a public figure. I would like to not be a public figure, but I'm figuring it out, and I'm just trying to spread awareness and try to get this thing shooting to the moon. I want to crack I want 2 numbers in front of a comma one day. I want to kickstart.
Yeah.
You want the G.I. Joe Kickstarter numbers, which is at it's funded like 1.8 million right now.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah, that'll be nice. I'd like to have my book. I'd like to ask for 10,000, get 1.8 million. Having my book funded 3,644%, which is roughly about where that is. I did the numbers.
But this is the thing with that though, right? Not to get too personal, but there's a lot of elements inside of my life that is not comic book related. All right. So I got a family that I need to take care of. I got hours I got to put in at work. And when I started with all of this, I was at home, you know.
Ah,
Was home for a year, right? So that first issue, I was able to dedicate myself completely to it. And, you know, like just the process and everything. And now, as things get worse, it's less and less time available for me to,
yeah.
you know, get into a creative thinking space to do that. You know, 10 hours at work plus an hour commute there, an hour commute back. And I got to figure out how to switch my brain over to think even about whether it's a podcast or writing up scripts or whatever. It's not an easy thing to do.
No.
That's why I'm really trying to get funded so I could ease up off of those other things and like give myself to this the way that it deserves.
It reminds me. There's a lot of things that remind me of things. It's just some random guy on YouTube. He was one of the early guys. He used to do. He used to have the Marvel Legends figures, and he would do different voices. And he actually had a whole like story. He was actually a voice actor coach, and he would say, you know, I want to make more videos because I think he was talking about when he moved to Patreon, and he's just like, you know, time and money, you know. When one of these things is high, one of these things is low. When one of these things is high, the other is low. And, you know, I would love to be able to dedicate myself full time to this, but I got real world stuff. That's the same with me, with Alan. Yeah. I mean, I got off work at 4:30 in the morning. You know what I'm saying? That's why my voice is screwed up. And it actually, in all of this, this is actually a question I was initially going to pose to the group. So going back to the G.I. Joe thing, because I did the same thing when they did the Transformer Omnibus. I looked at what they asked for and then figured out the percentage about where they were funded. And so initially when I did this, G.I. Joe, they asked for 10 grand. They were funded at like 1.6 million. And so my initial questions were founded around that. And so that was where I came up with that number you guys heard, 3,644%. That's roughly where they were funded. Now they're at 1.8. My question to you would be, what would that mean to you as a creative to see your property get funded like that? What would that mean for the first one is about you specifically. The second one is what would that do, let's say, for your actual series? And then what would that do for your company? And that third one is not the same as the second question, because like, what does getting that type of money, you asked for 10 grand, but you got 1.8. What would that help you do with your company? You know, your publishing house. And understand those three questions are for both of you because y'all are actual creators.
It doesn't, to be honest, it doesn't even need to be that high. It could even just be 100,000 and it would just change my life dramatically in terms of knowing that I could actually do this for a living and shift off of, as you say, your 9 to 5, focus on comic books, know that they're going to be self-sustained, be able to pay my artists, be able to experiment. One of the things that you cannot do as a creator, especially if you do not have the funds, you cannot experiment. So to a point, I do not write. I don't sit and write shit anymore because I'd be filling notebooks with shit that I will never do. So I do not write between projects just because it will be depressing to see stuff that I cannot do. But if you have that kind of resource, it means that you can employ more people, you can test the waters, try different things, give people chances that you didn't have. You know what I mean? I would love to hire a writer. I would love to be able to help fund people's books that I think are good at they do. You know, many Kickstarters I look at and I said, this is a good fucking book, but nobody's backing it. You know, that kind of shit. So I would basically just become a comic book creator with, let's say, even $100,000. That would just mean full-time comic book creation.
So, and I think what you said to me answers my second and third question, but on a more personal level, how would that make you feel? Like to that first question, how would that make you feel as the individual? Whether it's 100,000 or 1.8 million, like you would have to, would you be really just taken back that somebody liked what you did so much that you made this much money off of it? Because I
guess initially, I think just to get that sort of thing, there should be signs. I don't think you could actually go to bed and wake up and see that sort and not know the signs of you have a good idea or a good property or whatever. It should be there should be signs there, either people telling you stuff, the feedback, something should be there. But it would feel good. There's no denying you'd be overjoyed to know that you are received, and you will obviously take the good with the bad, because as much people who will love you, there are people who will say, "Why y'all pay so much money for that book?" or "That book ain't shit," kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you take the good with the bad.
Yeah.
You, Alim, your thoughts on that?
What would I do with it? Everybody on the team getting a raise. That's first of all, you know, getting the bonus. I'll finally be able to go fly out and hang out with some of the team that's in the other parts of the world. You know, we do stuff like that or whatever. But other than that, hire more teams. You know, I think people, if I had that kind of money, it would be a lot of people that also had that some portion of that money, because it just allows you to do more. Like he was saying, I got ideas for other books, but I ain't got money to get other books going at the same time. You know, I got to finish one project before I can even start to work on another project right now. I'm very limited, and I feel like, I don't want to sound arrogant, but I feel like the whole world is missing out, you know, because I have a lot of greatness to offer. Right? I just don't have the time, and it's like that for a lot of people, man. So it would feel great to have that validation, you know, be noticed and appreciated for something that I do, and let it be determined that I was not, you know, crazy and having some kind of midlife crisis when I started making comic books and stuff.
So to answer my first question, because I think you guys have done a great job with the second and third questions, but to answer that first question on like a personal and emotional level, seeing your book get funded, you asked for 10 and seeing it get funded 1.6 million, which is roughly 3,644%. That's an extreme form of validation, you would say. Like, that's like, it's not just me saying I have a good product. Here is I have a good product.
Yeah, true.
Now it opens up the doors, like you say, for number two. What does it do for your series? Now I can experiment. You know, I can do spin-off series, because people have been asking me about this character and that character. Now I can franchise. What does it do for my company? Now I can get my guys raises. I don't have to worry about paying my artists. Things can improve.
Yeah, you know, so you shore up your weaknesses too. Like for me, like I said, it's marketing. You know, if I had that kind of money, then I can cover the cost of having somebody be able to market professionally and present it, because that's you can't sell a ghost. You know, they gotta know what it is. You gotta be able to communicate with the people. You can sell a ghost story, but if nobody don't know about it, you know.
Yeah.
And here's something I want you to think about. Having that type of money, not only can you experiment and grow and create new bonds, but something that neither one of you mentioned is that it can also help you sever bonds with people that you're working with because you have to. You know, you may be in bed with somebody like, I do not like this person. I don't like how they move, but I have to deal with them because they have that one thing that I need. Like, you think if Alan got 1.6 million, he'd talk to me? No, he probably wouldn't.
Is that
I don't know. Maybe he would.
Around $50.
I would. I had $50.
$50, I moved in here.
It'll be an interesting day at work. I'll tell you that much, man.
You know, so, and that's something I want you. I'm not saying it to be negative, but a lot of people are like, man, I would do this, doing this, but people don't look at the other side. It's like, now you can cut the cord with people. It's like, I want to be famous enough so that I don't have to pick up my phone for anybody. I've had that philosophy for like 20 years. And where it came from is I remember seeing in the mid 2000s where it's like, to get Denzel to read a movie script, you're paying $100,000 just for him to read it. And I'm like, that's a lot of damn freedom. Like, that means I get to pick and choose the projects I want to work with. But when you start out, you got to do things you don't want to do. And, you know, and I imagine as creatives, it's like, you got to form partnerships with people you don't want to be in business with. but it's what y'all have to do. And having 1.6 million, like you said, it'd be an interesting day at work. It'd be probably a lot of, instead of hey, how you doing? It'd be a lot of fuck you, I hate both of you, and your cat too, and nobody cares about your 3-legged dog with testicular cancer. We know none of us like him, and the motherfucker stink. You know.
To add a question, this is talent. Would you go into say animation, or would you expand? Would you put it into a different
format? Yeah. In the animation, you could tell that, huh? Just from my references, man. That'd be a dream come true to be able to branch out in the animation. I hope one day that the Diary of Sweet Pea becomes gets enough of a following, proof of concept. I could go and get it animated into a series. Somebody streaming service needs some content. They all need this story.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would say go Netflix, especially when they have that show, My Dad is a Bounty Hunter, and that's a black show. Especially when the dad said he was your ex, he got a Jerry curl. Watch the show. It's a tiger dude, and it's like he said he got a Jerry curl. That's what you dated, And then, like I said, I've seen a show, huh?
I said I love that show, but that's another example of a story with black characters, and like the culture and everything is present in there, but it's not the standard black tropes present inside of that story.
And they don't beat you over the head with it, because once again, they're not trying to tell you something you can clearly see. Once again, something that we see often where it's like, you're trying to tell me the obvious, And there's this phrase I learned in comics, don't say what the art can show. Like, you don't have to tell me you're black. I can clearly see that. You can show me this through different things, and you're absolutely right. And then, like I said, your show would work well. Your book would work well on Netflix, because they have a show on there right now. I wish I could remember it, but I actually enjoy it. But the art style is kind of similar. It's not as violent as yours, because it is more geared towards kids, but it's a zombie apocalypse that's happening in that one. And it's about kids navigating that world and whatnot. And it's a bit more humorous. But I can see your story animated in that style and working,
Yeah,
so,
cool.
Just like I could see Alan's book there. I mean, they already have Cyberpunk 2077. Might as well have Diary of Stray Dogs, So I had another question, but I can't think of it right now. So we're just going to move on to the end of this show. We are at an hour and 52 minutes. It's been fun. Closing remarks, Alan.
It was great having you on. I enjoyed your book. I enjoyed talking to you, and I hope you reach those heights. I hope you get the numbers on Kickstarter. And anytime you can, come back after the Kickstarter, we could talk again.
For sure.
Yeah. Any ending thoughts, ALIM?
Click the link in my bio. I need you. I need you at that Kickstarter, man. Check me out. Give me a play. Doesn't take much. Right now, every dollar adds to the value of every reward now, because we're getting into those stretch goal moments. So please, back the campaign, help fund it so we can get more stories out to you faster and at a higher level.
Yeah. My final thoughts. It's been fun. Like what Alan said, we enjoyed the book. We see where it's going. And for the things that you want to do, I would say, not to always throw him out there, but kind of look at what Sebastian A. Jones has done with Stranger Comics. I mean, right now, he is kind of a blueprint for a successful indie. Like you said, you want to see your show animated. He's one. I mean, I know some people would say Black Sands and whatnot, but they've been advertising that for like going on 7 or 8 years. Meanwhile, Sebastian actually does have this thing, So just look to him, and like Alan said, when you get your next one up, come back. We definitely want to invite you back, because we have some other themed shows, and we're going to be looking for creatives to come on and give their opinions, like on AI and some other things. But it's been fun, bro. We'd love to have you back. All right, everybody. That's a wrap for this one. Y'all take it easy. Be blessed.